The results are in. In the case of America, Christopher Columbus, you are not the father. I'm writing this poem on Columbus Day, picking at scabs from old wounds that have yet to heal, reading old history textbooks for inspiration. If there's anything more painful than an old professor telling your story, it's when it's wrongfully told. I still remember the first time I learned his name. Mr. Washington's words sounded more like a rifle. Christopher Columbus discovered America. At that moment, I felt the thunder beams crack the sky. I was in first grade, and even then I understood that something was missing, so I raised my hand, and somehow it felt like an Indian revolt, like I was shooting wooden arrows into the mouth of a steel cannon. What about the natives? How can you discover someone when Mother Earth already spoke our name into existence? And Mr. Washington's eyes turned into smallpox, into blankets ready to exterminate any question that I had. Well, the Indians were just a bunch of heathens, undressed and uncivilized. And suddenly, our classroom turned into the battle at the Little Bighorn. And the ancestors said, today is a good day to die, and I'll be damned if I let this fool lie. But I was 7 years old, excluded from Thanksgiving dinner. The scoldings I received felt like massacres at Sand Creek, like braids being cut off at boarding school. They say the only good Indians are dead Indians, so they cut our hands off if we didn't bring enough gold. And if you really wish to exterminate the savages, you must start with their children, because nits make lice, and lice are bloodthirsty. But here's the irony. When Columbus first encountered the Taínos, he gave them the name Indios, meaning in God, or God's children. Someone please tell me why we worship a man who kills angels. I guess he read the Bible the same way he read map coordinates, with his eyes closed. And yet today, we still celebrate the world's biggest mistake. The truth is, Columbus never even stepped foot on what we call America. Yet his bloody spirit still lives on in the hungry trigger fingers of police officers killing our people at high rates through the oil pipelines that stretch themselves through our reservation and sacred water supply. America, is there not enough blood underneath our fingernails already? We have tried so hard to bury us underground, but you forgot that we were seeds. Our red tree will always blossom, and you will never cut us down. Thank you. I have one more poem for you all, and this poem is dedicated to my grandmother. I became a poet because my grandmother never learned how to write. Nevertheless, she was still the best storyteller I knew. And like the richest chiles, she was short but spicy. She spoke in the tune of hummingbirds. Never needed to raise her voice, she just make you lean a little closer. When my abuela gossiped, the entire barrio stopped to listen. Yeah, her sweet song would echo so profoundly across the mountains of Juarez that even the Virgen of Guadalupe herself caught word of the gossip through my grandma's stories. She was truly a magnificent human. Born March of 1932, my abuela wore all her lessons proudly throughout her wrinkles. She was a walking library, an eyewitness to some of history's most pivotal events, and those were our bedtime stories. That's right. And although she never fought alongside Pancho Villa or Emiliano Zapata, she still had her own way of elevating and bringing change to those around her. She made history by being the first single woman to own her home on the block. And then She purchased her own store, showing young women in Juarez that they didn't need no man to reach success, that they could grow their own wings and soar as high as their wings and their imagination allowed them to. So my mother grew the most vibrant wings and feathers she possibly grew. She outgrew the nest so quickly, and soon we had to leave, but not without my abuela's permission. On the day that my family left Juarez for the city of Denver, on the day that we sacrificed our family for a chance at a better life, my abuela gifted me with a giant pencil and a tiny notebook, because there is no story too big for me to write. She said, "Go write about the world, mijo. Go live through the moments that I could only dream about. Just promise you'll come back and share them with me. Just promise that I'll live eternally within the castles you'll build with your words." And so I took that notebook everywhere I went. And in a way, it was like my abuela was always with me, reading poetry in front of thousands of people from Los Angeles to New York City, performing on stages in London to Edinburgh, Scotland. My abuela was going to be proud of all the places that I flew over, but I never got a chance to tell her. Just a few weeks ago, my abuela, her epic story came to an end. She now flaps her wings with the angels up in heaven. Tonight, she will share her stories with the biggest audience she'll ever see, and they'll all clap when she's finished. They're truly fortunate to have your spirit up there, Abuelita. I just wish I had a chance to say goodbye. On the day of my grandmother's funeral, people came from all parts of the world to show her respect. Every soul she ever raised, every stomach she ever fed, even the street animals wandered somberly around her home trying to figure out a way to repay her. And the only way we knew how to was to dance. So we prayed our final rosary with our feet, and we twirled in ceremony until even the sun grew weary and had to show its respects, making way for the moon to do the same. The drums echoed throughout the night, and the birds and the stray dogs sang a final tune for my abuela. She always knew how to write the best endings. She always knew how to land the last line. When it was all said and done, I finally gathered the courage to look inside the casket. I opened up my notebook, and I read to my abuela for the first time, like I always promised I would. And I made a promise to her that night, that I would always fly my wings high and proud for the whole world to see. And that as long as I could write, the entire world would always remember her name, Paula Contreras Chavez, a woman who could fly. Thank you.